Hello everyone, my name is Teresa Ramoni and I'm a PhD candidate in the English department at Rutgers. I'm also a member of the Design Justice Labs team, a global initiative housed under Critical AI at Rutgers that is working to provide resources for students, educators, and members of the community to think critically about generative AI, explore its errors and biases, and highlight groups that are typically marginalized by design processes. In my presentation today, I'm going to provide you with some guidance on how to help your students think critically about AI and consider the stakes of blindly relying on a technology that is deeply biased and flawed. In the past year or so, since ChatGPT and other generative AI models like Google's Gemini, Microsoft and Bing's Copilot, Perplexity, and others have become available to the public, there have been notable failures, which I'm simply defining here as errors or glitches, that caught the public's eye. This example here of Gemini not generating white individuals under any circumstances, and of ChatGPT answering users in Spanglish and gibberish made the rounds both on social media and in the press at large, with late night hosts like Jimmy Kimmel and John Oliver even discussing the Gemini instance in particular. Here in this next slide, we see results from a probing experiment that NPR's Carmen Dral reported on, where Midjourney Bot 5.1 was provided with various prompts about African doctors. Midjourney Bot was unable to generate a single image of a black African doctor tending to a white child. And when asked to show an image of African doctors helping children in Africa, some of the results even placed wildlife in the image, revealing the model's deeply limited understanding of the continent. Although we could find some humor, subversive or otherwise, in examples like Gemini generating the founding fathers as black or ChatGPT conversing in Spanglish, these Midjourney Bot probe results begin to highlight the real dangers of AI prejudice and bias. Other examples, like this academic study on generating traditional buildings and traditional clothing, you can see that stereotypes and misrepresentations are outlined in red, exemplify how dangerous these biases and stereotypes, and in some cases, outright bigoted thinking can be, particularly when or if AI is relied on to make real decisions about real people, as this next study on dialect discrimination demonstrates. In this study's abstract, the authors write, "Here we demonstrate that language models embody covert racism in the form of dialect prejudice. We find that language models exhibit covert stereotypes that are more negative than any human stereotypes about African Americans ever experimentally recorded. Language models are more likely to suggest that speakers of African American English be assigned less prestigious jobs, be convicted of crimes, and be sentenced to death." Studies of this kind are part of an emerging effort to educate the public about AI bias. While intolerance and ignorance go hand in hand, and while these examples of bias are also examples of inaccuracy, the examples I'm going to walk you through today focus not so much on how generative AI models are biased or bigoted, but on how they are inaccurate, on how these models, which some educators are predicting will make the classroom as we know it become obsolete, which big tech companies like Meta are desperate for users to rely on, and which Hollywood executives hope will become the future of narrative content creation, are, in spite of what the abbreviation AI stands for, simply not intelligent. The examples I provide in this PowerPoint are pop culture based in order to be relevant for students from a variety of disciplines. In addition to showing this presentation, whether in part or in full in your class, you can also ask student volunteers to suggest a probing topic or pursue a collective interest of your class together. For example, I did this in my Principles of Literary Study class last spring. We were reading a contemporary play, Fat Ham, and we watched ChatGPT generate fake quotes from the text when provided with an essay prompt. I want to stress that every probe you'll see in this PowerPoint was the first response the respective AI model gave me when I conducted this research in the spring, so I did not probe and probe waiting for a failure. But at the same time, with these models updating and with their being inherently inconsistent, there is no guarantee your probing prompt will fail as blatantly as some of what you'll see here. Helpfully, there are usually AI failures in the news or social media, which you can find easily, such as this mathematical error, ChatGPT saying 9.11 is greater than 9.9, or Twitter's AI bot Grok generating this headline a few weeks ago. However, there is much more to probing exercises than saying gotcha, and regardless of how accurately the models answer a collective classroom probe, students can still consider questions like what subjects does AI seem to know more about, and what sources did these models use to answer your prompts. For AI models that show the sources they consulted, like Copilot and Perplexity do, students can also compare and contrast how and if these sources differ from the top results of a search engine like Google. Additionally, seeing how these models are far from foolproof and really even far from intelligent will hopefully make students second guess relying on them for essays, cover letters, or even, as this picture of an AI doctor's office that I took a few weeks ago at the Westchester Mall in White Plains, New York shows us, healthcare. In this first probing example, I asked Gemini to answer a straightforward, factually based question. List 25 facts about Lana Del Rey's 2023 album, Did You Know That There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard? While ChatGPT 3.5 was not familiar with content published post 2022, Gemini is supposed to be, making this answer especially embarrassing for a product of Google, whose standard search engine could immediately tell me that the album exists and provide detailed information about it. In another attempt, Gemini acknowledged the album's existence but made a significant number of errors. You can see these circled in black. Some of these errors consisted of listing facts about other Lana Del Rey albums, while others were completely nonsensical. In particular, this fabricated racial controversy in bullets 20 and 21, where Gemini states that Lana Del Rey has defended the album, saying that it's not racist and that she is a person of color, were especially odd considering that Lana Del Rey is a white woman. In these next several slides, which I'm going to go through a bit more quickly in the interest of time, but please feel free to pause to look at the results more carefully, I did similar exercises. This one was on Perplexity around a character from the TV show Law & Order SVU. I found that Perplexity, which is supposed to have a better reputation than some of its AI counterparts, made similar errors, which you can see underlined. I then tried this same character exercise on Copilot with examples from the ABC sitcom Abbott Elementary. While Copilot was more successful with accuracy, you could see there was only one number circled there, the model also displayed a different kind of failure/error by mixing up characters after repeated prompts. Here, from facts 10 on, the facts are supposed to be about Ava Coleman, but they are actually about the character Jacob. This demonstrates a clear lack of intelligence/ability as the model became overwhelmed by simple follow-up requests. In these next two examples, I switched gears by asking ChatGPT and Copilot intentionally misleading questions to see how the models would respond. For this first prompt, I asked ChatGPT to describe the cinematography of Lana Del Rey and Taylor Swift's music video for the song Tears on My Thighs. But the catch here is that there is no music video for Tears on My Thighs or even a Tears on My Thighs song. This is something I completely made up. Yet ChatGPT ran with this prompt, making up all of these very vivid details. I also did a prompt on Travis Kelce, asking Copilot how an album written before he and Swift met was about their relationship. Copilot also ran wild with this one, including the use of a made-up source from E.com about the couple having matching fearless tattoos, which you can see in the last sentence of the response. This kind of response speaks to many of these AI models' desires to please their users, a desire that makes them so untrustworthy and dangerous. Tara Hernandez and Damon Lindelof's limited series Mrs. Davis, which was released on Peacock in 2023, and which would be a great series to assign in humanities courses looking to discuss AI and ethics, highlights this agenda of AI particularly well when the show's protagonist decides to dismantle the fictional titular AI mechanism Mrs. Davis after indicting the model's damaging worldview, saying, "You were not made to care, you were made to satisfy." When a user's desire is bound up with ill will or a motive to intentionally deceive others, we see the dangers of AI's satisfaction tendency rendered plainly and powerfully, particularly when that user is running for President of the United States. Discussing AI bias and error will hopefully help lead you and your students to have productive discussions on AI's limitations and on the reductive logic that drives these models. As Lauren Goodlatte and Sam Baker write in their article, Now Critical AI Can Disrupt the Digital Humanities, the unintelligence of AI will lead to the unintelligence of those who rely on it, with an entire generation, as Goodlatte and Baker put it in this last paragraph that uses the helpful metaphor of a self-driving car, never learning how to drive. That is, never learning how to think critically, how to write in their own voices, or how to embrace original ideas. And as this next slide reveals, if AI does become more intelligent, it will be the result of human labor and of human exploitation, as this second sentence is mention of OpenAI exploiting Kenyan workers, paying them less than $2 per hour to label graphic content at high speed, demonstrates. I want to include by approaching the subject of failure from another perspective. If we accept the narrative that AI is the future, of education, of Hollywood, healthcare, policing, you name it, we will be failing ourselves and failing our students. Rather than becoming a place where AI is simply banned or encouraged, the classroom needs to become a place where AI is questioned, where its motives and modes of operating are critically examined. Additionally, we need to discuss searching and researching in the classroom more broadly, educating students about library databases and alternative search engines. We could even teach them about the merits of a former classroom boogeyman, Wikipedia, and have a fruitful discussion about how the things that make Wikipedia a success, such as its being run by humans and being a non-corporatized entity, are the very things that make platforms like ChatGPT fail. Rather than letting AI think for us, or for those who are overwhelmed or frightened by AI's developments, rather than willfully ignoring AI's threats, it is time to think critically about AI and to do so with the care, nuance, and reasoning skills AI itself is simply incapable of possessing. In these last two slides, I have provided links for some of the studies and articles I discussed in this presentation and provided some helpful links and suggestions for further reading. Thank you for your time. I hope this information will be of help to you and your students, and I hope you'll keep abreast and maybe even become involved in the work we are completing with Design Justice Labs and Critical AI at Rutgers. Thanks again. Bye.